Yes, the Hornets return to Premier League action on Saturday afternoon when they welcome Bournemouth to Vicarage Road. Reg, again, generally from Bournemouth, what can we expect from them this weekend?
Well, a high-tempo team. I think they're a type of team that want to play. They obviously want to build through the thirds. They're off the back of a couple of disappointing results, obviously in the FA Cup against Everton and against Stoke, losing 3-1. But that won't make them change their philosophy. Their philosophy is to play football, play through the thirds, always look for numeracy and try and get superior bodies around the ball and try and play in good areas, and definitely looking with high energy down the sides to get crossing the box.
Picking up on that point, Bournemouth obviously renowned for a footballing side as such. So starting at the back, does that start from Boruc? Does he start to play from the back and look to play out?
Yes, he does. They will look to split the two centre halves. Obviously, Steve Cook and Simon Francis will look to split. Fullbacks will push on. If that's not an option, sometimes Andrew Sermon, you will see him drop in here. Most Premier League sides are aware of this from doing their research. They would have seen Bournemouth play. They won't want to let them play to their strengths, which is playing through the thirds. So I'd fully expect Watford to step on and prevent them playing out from the back, making Boruc kick long. It's not a massive midfield. It's not a massive... Mark Pugh probably the only one over 6 foot. I know Sermon has a bit of height, but Matt Ritchie's small. Harry Arter's not massive. They would find it very difficult, the aerial ability of Watford in midfield.
Picking up on that point of us squeezing up the pitch, obviously in the reverse fixture we saw Igalo intercept a pass from Birch. Will we look at that as an example on how to press successfully?
Yes, they can get quite complacent at the back, I think, Bournemouth. They are a type of team who want to take risks. They are going to play football. They're going to try and get bodies. Andrew Sermon, if Charlie Daniels is on the ball, is going to drop in the hole, try and be an option. Mark Pugh will have to drop big in, Harry Arter. But even if Charlie Daniels is pushed back down here deep in their half, they're still going to look to play. They rarely look to just play an aimless long ball. What they found this season is with the higher opposition in the Premier League, you've got quicker players pressing you. They will try and trap you into a corner. And what I think you'll find on Saturday's game, there will be aimless clearances with them in positions of trying to pick up possession where Watford can pick up possession in midfield and really attack with promise.
Moving forward, looking at the full-backs, obviously Charlie Daniels at left-back, Adam Smith at right-back. Sort of, we know they like to play out. How big an attacking threat are they, and how high do they like to get out the pitch?
Well, they are a massive aspect of how Bournemouth play their game. Their fullbacks are such high energy. We're so used to seeing Simon Francis at fullback, and he is a tall, rangy individual who can get up and down that line, no problem at all. Charlie Daniels has been quite similar. I just think Francis was able to tuck in more. With him playing centre-half, it takes that threat a little bit away because I don't think Adam Smith does it as well, but he will still look to run the line. So will Charlie Daniels. The reason they do that is you've got Matt Ritchie and Mark Pugh. They always want to come inside. Mark Pugh is a right-footed, Matt Ritchie is a left-footed player. Two very good technically players. Charlie Daniels will look to overlap. Adam Smith will look to overlap. And the most important thing then is balance. Do they have the balance to be able to attack? Harry Arter is going to want to join in Dan Gosling. As such, not as much as the other midfielders there. Sermon and Gosling will look for that balance, but they've been caught out in the past this season already with quick turnovers and being caught in the counter.
We've talked about Bournemouth liking to play football, but sort of a massive part of their play as well as their work rate. As a team, they've covered the most ground in the Premier League this season, and someone who epitomises that, Andrew Sermon in the middle, is individually covering the most ground. So what we look to do is he just cover sort of in front of the back four, or does he get forward as well?
He does cover in front of the back four. That's his main aim in games. He looks to cover that area. Harry Arter and Dan Gosling play a little bit advanced. What I have them in is a 4-1-4-1 is what I expect them to play. Andrew Sermon covers a lot of ground. Now you can see why. Massive areas for him that he has to cover because the two fullbacks are going to push on. He has to cover. He has to be the balance. Now you imagine Steve Cook and Simon Francis pushing on as well. It usually just creates the three of them being the holding players. Usually fullbacks on the opposite side will tuck in, but on this occasion with Bournemouth, Matt Ritchie will look to step in and join in Bennett Gafobi with any crosses in the box. And Adam Smith would be the one who takes up Matt Ritchie's position, which leaves them a little bit exploit. You can exploit that at the back. Obviously, with Igalo, we'll look to him to run the line. Deeney, as we know before, he can hold the ball up so well. But Andrew Sermon, he does have a big job to do. He's a massive role to play in Bournemouth's balance, being able to cover at the back with Simon Francis, Steve Cook and Andrew Sermon. They believe that that's enough. They will obviously tuck another fullback in, but they look more to advance. Also, with the energy, as you mentioned, their pressing game is impressive. You know, when they turn over possession, the closest player looks to close just to cut off the counter attack. But after that, they'll drop back in and get in a good shape. Very, very narrow shape. When you look at Watford, we play quite a narrow defensive shape at times as well. So it'll be very important that our fullbacks join in and be an option for the midfield.
Moving forward, we've got Harry Arter and Dan Gosling just in front. I mean, I know, like you say, it's a bit fluid in there. It's not just them sitting in front of Sermon and Mark Pugh and Matt Ritchie. Well, who are these sort of players that are key players looking to join Benicophobe up top and cause the attacking threat?
Well, Harry Arter is a creative midfield player. Dan Gosling, not as much, but he is obviously a very, very good player. But he will look to hold a little bit, let Harry Arter join in. Matt Ritchie and Mark Pugh, as I mentioned before, will come inside on their stronger right foot in Mark Pugh's case, left foot in Matt Ritchie. And Matt Ritchie coming up with a few goals this season already. The goal against Stoke was quite impressive. You know, he's got that ability, he's got the technical ability, being able to finish from outside the box. Harry Arter will join in. What you'll find is if Charlie Daniels is stepping down the line, for instance, and Mark Pugh comes inside, crossing opportunities, they're going to have Mark Pugh in the box, Benicophobe in the box, Matt Ritchie in the box, and one other midfield player. They do look to flood the box and create those opportunities for scoring.
And Benicophobe, of course, joined in January, but done very, very well since he's joined. He's obviously a lone striker up there. Is he more of a target man, or is he good with his feet as well?
Well, a massive aspect of Bournemouth's play is that when they are under the cosh, which they have found themselves a lot more this season than last, they had Callum Wilson last year to run the line. So when they're under pressure, the game is quite condensed. That's not the way Bournemouth want to play. They want to play with, plenty of space for people to get in nice holes, get in good positions and break the lines and play through the thirds. So what you'll find when the game is on top of them and they're a little bit stretched, they need Benicophobe to run the lines. You'll find him making runs down the line just to stretch it a little bit, coming short, and it'll have to be an option for these defenders to find him, because not all the time they're going to be able to play through the thirds. They might have to skip the middle third. Benicophobe is very, very important in that sense, to be able to stretch the play, create opportunities for these guys to be able to play in midfield.
Looking at us as a back four, when you've got, from your experience, of a one man up top in Benicophobe and a couple of players behind who like to float around, how difficult is that to defend against, and what will we look to do to stop them?
Well, we play with holding midfield players. We have done over the last previous good few games. So we either play with 2 or 3 holding midfield players. I think that's important against Bournemouth. You know, they are going to try and join in. We said a 4-1-4-1. Those 4 midfield players do push on. They do play quite an attacking role. Harry Arter and Dan Gosling, as I said, he will hold, but Harry Arter in there and Matt Ritchie and Mark Pugh coming inside. It's important that our home midfield players can cover those positions, but also not allow Bournemouth, which is a feature of their play. If Charlie Daniels on the ball, they will look to switch it quickly just to create 1v1 opportunities against our fullbacks. We have to hold midfield players to come across and support our fullbacks, preventing them to put crosses in the box, which is obviously, we know what they love to do.
Looking at Bournemouth bench as well, they've got the likes of Junior Stanislas, who's recently come back from injury, and Josh King. Both of them offer a bit more pace and a different option for them if they are introduced. Yes,
and they listen, this is just a prediction of their team. That doesn't mean that this is going to be their team. It's just something I obviously am predicting. Matt Ritchie, I think he's going to come back in the side, but Junior Stanislas easily could start on that side. I think Mark Pugh pretty much has that jersey in his back pocket, and the rest of it is pretty self-explanatory. This might be the position we might look at. Benicophobe, I think, has done really well since he's come in, but looking at King's a bit more of a physical centre forward. He's very strong. He will look to hold the ball up. He's not, I don't think, moulded his game as of yet to the Premier League and the expectancy of it. I think Benicophobe has come in and done really well, so it's going to be difficult for King. I expect him to start on the bench, but can offer something when he comes off the bench and can throw his weight around, and as we said before, stretching it, can do that as well.
And just finally, you've touched on the sort of areas which they can leave space up here, so where will we be looking to hurt them and how will we be looking to hurt them?
I think definitely on the counter and turnovers of possession, because Bournemouth love to play football. That's their philosophy. They will look to play in all areas, and it's not always the right areas. So they could be in possession here and they'll drop Andrew Sermon in, Dan Gosling in, and there can be turnovers of possession in here and we'll attack. And with the Gallo up front, when we get, I think, what they've seen this season, and you look at the Stoke goal, Walters picks up the ball here, he runs down the line because he's 1v1 with a centre half. These are the opportunities we need to get. We need to get a Gallo 1v1, Troy Deeney 1v1, let him take these players on, because they will be surprised by that. You go with them with pace and power, you will get opportunities of goal. And with midfielders, willing runners, which we have in midfield, joining in the attack, I think we'll have overload on opportunities on goal.